Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Matty Greenspan says that he has two possible reasons that the price of XRP is so low today. And I'll tell you at the outset here, I disagree. I definitely disagree. And to me, it's fun when people have an opinion about something, but they haven't necessarily done enough research to make it reasonable to hold such an opinion. Maybe look out there and maybe do a little bit of a fuller analysis. So now I'm not trying to be nasty about it. I just love critically thinking through these types of things, though. And I do appreciate diversity of thought, so I'm just kind of teasing a little bit. But I definitely disagree, so I'm looking forward to running through this and explaining thoroughly why. I've also got some comments from the XRP community, and I will be wrapping up this video with an article from CoinDesk that's unrelated, but I just found fascinating. It has to do with the kind of development of blockchain and cryptocurrencies as a whole. It's titled, China May Soon Have Its First Blockchain Exchange-Traded Fund. Onward! But before we go any further, if you would please delicately tap that like button. And also, if you want to know the real reason that the XRP price is low, don't worry, I'm going to tell you. But go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel, lest your days be unfulfilled. All right, I'll dive in now. So the price of the third largest cryptocurrency, XRP, has not been doing well throughout 2019. Now, of course, that's how they start the article. Okay, whatever, fair enough. If you want to go ahead and paint that narrative. But I just want to state right here, that's just, look, if you go back 3 years and say that's the starting point comparing price action to Bitcoin, XRP's better. So it's just like, choose your timeline. You know, you can do that to paint any picture you want. Just want to be clear about that. But having started the year at 37-cent high in January, it only touched the 48 cents briefly on June 23rd. I did see it on Live Coin Watch, so I will say that. I did see it at just a little over 50 cents. So I think it depends on where they're collecting the data and how they're doing that. But anyway, close enough. Last time it saw a high close to the... Man, you gotta love broken sentences in crypto media. I didn't catch that when I read through this earlier. Last time it saw a high close to that level was November 6th. Man, letters and words are hard. Jesus. How did you get out of first grade? Like, could you even color in the lines? Anyway, so I think they're trying to say last time there's a high of XRP close to that level was November 6th. That's what they're trying to say. When the XRP price reached the 30-cent mark. Okay. Since then, it has been breaking downwards, going below one psychological level after another. It first went under 25 cents, then dropped below 22 cents. Since about December 8th, XRP has been trading below that level, firmly sitting in the 19-cent area. And as I record this, that's about where XRP is. All right. Now, when asked by a crypto enthusiast why that is happening, the founder of quantum economics, a trading expert and analyst, Matty Greenspan, said that there are two possible reasons for that, and they're both wrong. I'll tell you what the real reason is, but let's go ahead and run through his right here. The question to the expert. This is from the expert. Maybe, am I an expert then? Because I got the right answer. If my answer is right and his is wrong, am I an expert too? The question to the expert crypto analyst Matty Greenspan was why, despite all the multiple milestones reached by Ripple this year, the price of XRP has remained in the lows for a long time already. So here you go. Here's the actual tweet, and let me just read this. So here we go. Great question, Simon. Thanks. Prospects are still quite bullish for the long term on both coins, so XRP and Bitcoin. So he did say something positive there. So it's not like he's just being a troll. And I don't want to paint it like that either. I just think he's wrong on this. I just have a different opinion, which should always be fine. We're adults. We can have different opinions. But right, if Bitcoin does as well as it did this year, we could be testing the highs very soon. XRP faces short-term selling pressure from Ripple as well as adoption issues within the network here. And so let me scroll a little bit further here. Now, Greenspan believes there are two major issues with XRP. So what is preventing the price of XRP from rising? Now, the first issue is that Ripple holds a great deal of XRP coins and keeps throwing them onto the market on a regular basis. The second is that often, in order to use the Ripple's technology, banks do not need XRP. The majority of Ripple's partners are using Xcurrent. It's actually not called Xcurrent anymore, but whatever, I'll allow it. It's the messaging portion of RippleNet. In order to just to move funds quickly, and just few prefer to utilize the unmanned liquidity system formerly known as XRapid that is fueled by XRP. This means that the token has much less utility and adoption within the ecosystem than it could have had otherwise. Oh my god, that's such a backwards way of looking at this. So I'm going to go ahead and thoroughly explain why both of these are wrong. And that's so number one, again, this is what he tweeted about. Ripple holding a large portion of tokens and selling into the rallies. No, that's absolutely incorrect. Let me just show you this, and I've highlighted this a couple times on the channel. I'll just be brief with it. This is from a Ripple Insights blog, what I have on your screen here, and this is from about 2.5 years ago, May 16, 2017. There's this article about Ripple placing 55 billion XRP into escrow. But look what they also covered here. This is their 30-year distribution plan of XRP. They're not just dumping on the market. They're looking 30 years down the road. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that things will play out literally like this, because the amount of XRP that Ripple is willing to sell over the counter, it does depend on volume. So it doesn't mean it's literally going to be like this, but what I'm trying to illustrate to you is that there is a long-term plan and they have no intent of dumping. In fact, the percentage of XRP that Ripple is selling, last I checked, I'll have to pull from memory a little bit, but it doesn't matter, whatever the percent, I think it's under 1% of volume. So there's no way that could be the reason that XRP price is suppressed to any meaningful level. And if you think about this, given that XRP has been bouncing around between the second and third spot in terms of market cap in the crypto asset class this whole time that Ripple's been selling this, if they're suppressing price in any meaningful way, how is it that XRP is still third in market cap? If they're really beating it down, well, you see, it's not the case that's occurring, though. What's actually happening is that the whole market's down. I mean, you could say Bitcoin had a better year in 2018 than pretty much any other coin. Fine, but if you look, especially compared to the other, the rest of the top 10 cryptocurrencies, but still, what I'm saying here is the rest of the market went down, and there's been some jockeying of positions in terms of market cap for the cryptocurrencies, but more or less, the top 10 has been the top 10. There have only been so many changes, nothing dramatic beyond that, even if certain coins fell out of the top 10, and so. That's a bogus argument. It really is. And so if you just looked at the data and saw how much... And look, Ripple started talking about that in their second quarter markets report, which came out, less than half a year ago. That's when they really were citing some specifics about how much XRP they're selling. They cited that they're reducing based on new metrics, how much XRP they sell. It's just a completely bogus argument. And so he must be lacking knowledge, because if he's lacking that knowledge, then okay, that's fine. He just needs to learn more. If he's not lacking that knowledge, then it's disingenuous, and I would like to not assume that's what he's doing there. So I think that he just doesn't know that, and he has an opinion, which is something that humans do. So just check this out. Here's the second one, though. Usage of the network, and this is directly from Matty Greenspan. Usage of the network does not necessarily require XRP tokens. Banks can use RippleNet without ever touching the token. Okay, so that's the second reason that XRP price is low. That's what he's citing here. I firmly disagree. In fact, if it were... Because what's the alternative? So you don't have to use XRP, but if you want to force XRP to be used, that's the alternative, right? It's either force it or don't force it, right? Okay, fair. Well, funny enough, and maybe he doesn't know this as well, but in the early days, Ripple's plan was to force banks and remittance companies to use XRP for settlement. That was the plan, and they got nowhere with it. They quickly abandoned that because they weren't able to develop relationships. It was destructive. So the point that XRP is not required to use RippleNet, fine, but think about what's actually being done here. All of these new banking relationships have been able to form just using the messaging portion. We're talking about what used to be known as Xcurrent. That's still happening. Absolutely. That whole portion of the ecosystem is being built out. And, to force a bank to settle in a specific way, again, taking freedom away from the customer, they learned that is not ideal. And so as David Schwartz put it, if XRP truly is a better solution, you don't have to force anyone to do anything. Just let the market do what the market does. And you might say, okay, well, why isn't XRP being used more than it is today? Well, that's a pretty simple answer. The whole ecosystem is being built out. There's not enough liquidity. There aren't enough corridors open. But Ripple's actively solving these major hurdles. They're not insurmountable issues, but it takes a long time to build all of this out and actually get new corridors up and running, especially from there's a regulatory perspective. Lots to consider here. But so, the fact that XRP is not required, they're not for settlement, it's not absolutely required. And then it required what? Only in operational corridors? Like, what do you mean? Like, what else would it even look like? And so I think that it's just a way of looking at this that has not critically thought through the entire ecosystem that Ripple is building out and all of the hurdles that they've had to overcome to even get where they are today. I think that it's missing some really critical conceptual items, I'd say there. But it's all going to get there. I mean, not financial advice, but I firmly believe this is all going to be built out, and I think XRP will be worth a lot more. And again, I don't have a financial background, not telling you to buy or sell, but absolutely, I think it's going to be worth substantially more. And if Ripple weren't doing this, actually, I would argue that actually the price of XRP would be much lower than it is. I don't know that it would have maintained number 3 in terms of market cap. I don't think it would have held that position necessarily because there's so much focus on what Ripple's doing in terms of building out the XRP ecosystem. Now, they're not the only ones building out, so I'm not saying that Ripple's the only one, but it's pretty notable, and I think that's fair to say. It's just kind of a matter-of-fact type of thing from my perspective here. So I couldn't disagree more with these two reasons. So what's the real reason that XRP price is what it is? Well, again, as I say this, just keep in mind, XRP is maintaining that number 3 spot while the market's doing what it's doing, but the truth of the matter is rather simple. It's not the way that Maddie's looking at this. Maddie is incorrect. The reason XRP price is where it is because Bitcoin has gone down. Okay, and you can look, and so altcoins as a whole behave as a group, differently than Bitcoin sometimes. Look, the market moves in tandem, yes, but there's such a thing as Bitcoin moving up on its own and altcoins moving up on their own. There's historical chart data showing this, and I'm not some chart nerd. I don't thoroughly analyze charts, but you can use your own eyeballs and look at an altcoin dominance chart versus Bitcoin dominance chart, and you can see it has these patterns over the last, let's go back 5, 6, 7 years, whatever you want to do, and you can see that we're probably historically due for one if it's going to happen. If you don't have an alt season pretty soon, then it'll be the first time in the history of these charts it didn't happen. But just saying. So yep, sorry. I think that this is a way of looking at things that isn't considering reality, like what's actually happened in terms of the development of RippleNet and just crucial factors. So, it would be a bad idea to make banks utilize XRP when they're not ready, especially considering, if you talk about forcing them to use XRP, well, what about regulations? Like depending on where you are in the world, some of that stuff hasn't been figured out, and Ripple is working to figure that all out, and because they have, certain corridors have opened, like Mexico and the Philippines. Like, these are open because those hurdles were overcome, and they're just going to rinse and repeat now, doing all sorts of other corridors. That's how this is all playing out. All right, next, here's a tweet from XRP Marks the Spot. It tagged me, and I wanted to give a shout out and say hello. And so here's what he wrote. Many outsiders think we are all crazy for being so bullish on crypto still, but seeing the amount of infrastructure built out in 2019 makes us all hella bullish. We know the powers that be are diverting attention, waiting for the big rollouts. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I'm on board with you. Like, I agree that there's reason to be bullish. I could not be more bullish. There's a reason I continue to purchase XRP. As far as the part you wrote, though, we know the powers that be are diverting attention. Well, I don't know specifically what you're talking about there, so I can't really comment too much on that particularly, but it's true that some individuals with certain organizations have said, hey, just kind of downplay crypto, this or that, and then they actually get more involved. So there is some of that. I don't know that there's some huge coordinated deception campaign out there, and I'm not saying that you're even saying there is, but I just, to me, it's kind of fascinating when people behave like that. All right, this next piece I got from Crypto Wolf, XRP Crypto Wolf. Shout out to you, good sir. China may soon have its first blockchain exchange traded fund. China's Securities Regulatory Commission, CSRC, the country's financial watchdog, has recently received an application for listing an exchange-traded fund, ETF, that will track blockchain-related stocks as underlying assets. Interesting, right? Dubbed Penghua Shenzhen Stocks Blockchain ETF, the application was filed by Shenzhen-based asset management firm Penghua Fund and was accepted by the CSRC on December 24th, according to the regulator's disclosure. The proposed ETF aims to track and reflect the performance of Shenzhen-listed public stocks that have businesses in the blockchain industry. Based on a report from Shanghai Securities News on Thursday, if the application received final approval by the CSRC, it would be the country's first completely blockchain-themed ETF open to public investors. So I just thought it was a cool thing just to kind of give a little blurb at the end here, because I like the direction that they have anything like that. Whatever your country is, just get acceptance of this, build out infrastructure, anything along those lines, I'm happy to report on. But that is it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!